The emergence of Tibetan films marks a significant moment, portraying narratives that delve into the lives of ordinary Tibetan people as they navigate a renewed wave of economic, social, and political challenges. These cinematic endeavors notably steer clear of perpetuating stereotypes traditionally associated with Tibet and its people, offering a fresh and nuanced perspective on the complexities of contemporary Tibetan society.
New Tibetan wave cinema has emerged in recent years as a movement within the global film industry, where visionary directors present a refreshing and dynamic perspective on Tibetan society and culture, while concurrently offering profound commentary on universal themes. These films exemplify a remarkable sense of realism, employing minimalist aesthetics, non-professional actors, and an unwavering focus on the intricacies of everyday life. Consequently, viewers are presented with an intimate and poetic cinematic experience that resonates deeply. The origins of new Tibetan wave cinema can be traced back to earlier films such as The Cup by Khyentse Norbu. This cinematic masterpiece portrays a poignant true story of two young Tibetan refugees grappling with their monastic duties and the fascination with watching the 1998 World Cup final within a monastery in exile in India. In doing so, it evokes the essence of traditional films from that era. During my upbringing, I encountered only a handful of Tibetan films such as Drimin Lhasa and Phon Anutanu. These films, with their themes of exile and identity, resonated with me simply because they were Tibetan films on the big screen. Growing up, I mainly watched anime dubbed in Hindi and Bollywood films. Surprisingly, in India, there was a Tibetan channel where I watched Chinese TV shows like Journey to the West, dubbed in Tibetan. Among them, Khair, a short film based on a story by Buchungdi Sonam, stood out. It explores the friendship between a Tibetan and a Kashmiri boy bonded by poetry. Its narrative offers a unique perspective on Tibetan identity in exile. Despite its short format, Khair inspired me with its ambitious themes. Reflecting on my past assumptions, I once believed that all Tibetan-themed films were crafted by Tibetan directors. However, reality proved far from the truth. It's worth noting that as of today, I've identified fewer than 40 Tibetan feature films directed by Tibetan filmmakers. I've yet to watch half of them, as gaining access to these films can be quite challenging. Let's entertain the notion of adding another 40 films to this list in case I miss some, although it's important to stress that this figure is not an exact representation of the total available. From my guess that fewer than 100 Tibetan films have been produced from 1959 to 2024. In stark contrast, a staggering 9,199 feature films were produced globally in 2019 alone, as reported by Omdia's film production database. While India dominated with an impressive 2,412 films in the same year. Putting this into perspective, matching India's annual output would take roughly 1,574 years for Tibetans. The landscape for Tibetan filmmakers is significantly more complex than mere numbers convey. One of the most difficult aspects of any filmmaking endeavor is securing funding, and this is no different in Tibetan filmmaking.
You know, the trouble you go through to find funding to make a feature film with no reward at all financially. You can't even pay back your, the people who invested money in your film. It really feels bad, you know.
마음와근디 오크롱인데나 마른가디나 총거영아 잠바이나 총거 오크 초아오 그르니 점아진 총고 오크 롱인 오마시리나 그근디 마르차기 쇼바시 그거지 등하른가 점점만 잠바요 잠바직 쇼네 보기 내일 좀 따따 롱인데 집에 오빠 천전한디 그가 태우노가 커져오지래도
Many filmmakers in exile gravitate towards the art of documentary filmmaking due to its financial viability and career longevity, whereas filmmakers in Tibet often focus on fictional films due to the political sensitivity under the CCP. With only a few directors in exile and professionals working both on and off screen.
Ritu and I actually started filmmaking in the 80s when we were students in Berkeley in California. And at the time, there was actually no Tibetan filmmakers in exile. I mean, no one at all.
Along with the limited number of projects, it becomes financially difficult for Tibetans to find work as actors, given that there are barely any working actors. After completing a film, it's even harder to find a distributor for Tibetan filmmakers.
Or just getting it out into the world, and the fact that actually there is no support for Tibetan cinema and there is no distribution and there's no market. So we had this idea that we could get it out in front of a lot of people, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to make a feature film.
The majority of Tibetan films are self-funded, as there is little to no support from institutional organizations.
But I really feel like we need to support them more. I feel like the institutions need to support them more. I just think, there should be funds to support filmmaking and filmmakers and artists. And at every point when I have the chance to speak to anybody, I encourage them to do that. Because I feel like that's what's missing. Like all over the world, people have a lot of governmental or institutional support for their films. And
the perseverance of Tibetan filmmakers, both within and outside Tibet, in portraying Tibetan narratives through cinema has sparked the rise of the new Tibetan wave.